More than 4 years after the tragic death of Green Beret Mark Leshikar, the case remains shrouded in mystery. Shot and killed in March 2018 by his best friend, Army Delta Force member William J. Lavigne, known as Billy to the Leshikar family. This case took a chilling turn in December 2020, when Lavigne himself was found dead alongside Army veteran Timothy Dumas. Their deaths, ruled as homicides, reignited interest in the Leshikar case and added a whole new layer of uncertainty to an already suspicious situation. And now, thanks to new Army records obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, we have even more damning details about Lavigne's past. A past that raises serious questions about how the military handled his repeated drug use, and whether his credibility in Leshikar's death was ever taken seriously. Lavigne's account of the shooting that took place at his home in front of their 2 young daughters is simple. Leshikar allegedly came at him with a screwdriver, forcing Lavigne to shoot in self-defense. That was the version accepted by local law enforcement, which quickly ruled the killing a justifiable homicide. Case closed, right? Not so fast. There was just one problem. No screwdriver was ever found near Leshikar's body, and yet authorities still took Lavigne's word at face value. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office has never released its full investigative records, and to this day, they refuse to do so unless legally forced. But a military review of the case, conducted at the request of Leshikar's family, raises even more concerns. According to internal Army CID documents, Lavigne wasn't exactly the most credible witness. Investigators also found Leshikar's privately owned pistol on a countertop near his body, a detail that was seemingly ignored in the original investigation. The gun was never mentioned in Lavigne's statements, and authorities never even bothered to ask him about it. But here's where things get even murkier. Despite these inconsistencies, the Army's review ultimately agreed with the local sheriff's findings. The official ruling: justifiable homicide. End of story. At least, that's what they wanted us to believe. For anyone following this case, the newest revelations shouldn't come as a shock. Lavigne was no saint, and FOIA documents confirm what many already suspected. The Army knew about his serious drug problem long before his body was discovered in the woods. In 2019, despite multiple failed drug tests, the Army never court-martialed William "Billy" Lavigne, a decision that now raises more questions than answers. It all started on March 28, 2019, when Lavigne was admitted to Womack Army Medical Center at Fort Bragg. There, he openly admitted to using cocaine. A drug test confirmed his confession, yet no immediate action was taken beyond documentation. Just a few months later, in June 2019, the problem surfaced again. A routine unit urinalysis inspection flagged Lavigne for both cocaine and D-amphetamine. This wasn't a one-time mistake, it was now a pattern. But even as the evidence stacked up, he continued serving, untouched by the consequences that should have followed. Then came September 2019, when another unit drug test revealed an even more troubling result. Lavigne tested positive for cocaine again, but this time, heroin was also in his system. 3 failed tests, 3 major red flags, yet no court-martial. Despite his repeated drug use, Lavigne remained in his position, and the Army's decision not to take stronger disciplinary action remains a glaring question. Why was he allowed to continue serving in such an elite unit despite clear violations? And did this unchecked behavior play a role in the dark events that followed? After that 3rd positive test, Lavigne reportedly became extremely hostile and aggressive during an interview with an investigator. Despite this, instead of facing a court-martial, his commanding officer decided to pursue actions amounting to less than a courts-martial. Let that sink in. A Delta Force soldier tested positive for hard drugs 3 times in a single year, openly admitted to using cocaine, and the Army still didn't remove him. The problem wasn't just Lavigne, it was an entire culture of unchecked substance abuse within the elite ranks of the military. Leshikar's wife, Laura, made no secret of the fact that Billy was strung out on something nearly every time she saw him. His sister, Nicole, went even further, admitting that she, Billy, and Mark all did cocaine together. According to Rolling Stone, Nicole also witnessed other special operators engaging in drug use. There were a couple others that were with us, drinking and partying, she recalled. Despite all of this, the Army refused to comment on whether Delta Force members were subjected to regular drug testing. Both U.S. Army Special Operations Command, USASOC, and Joint Special Operations Command JSOC, declined to answer any questions about the issue. Then came December 2nd, 2020. A deer hunter in the woods near Fort Bragg stumbled upon a grisly scene. Two bodies, later identified as Lavigne and Army veteran Timothy Dumas. Rolling Stone reported that Lavigne had been shot multiple times in the chest, his body wrapped in a poncho liner and dumped in the bed of his own pickup truck. The case was immediately labeled a homicide, yet authorities have remained tight-lipped about the details. Was Lavigne's death a revenge killing? Was it connected to his past drug use? Could it have had anything to do with the Leshikar shooting? No one knows, because, as usual, the Army isn't talking. At the time of his death, Special Forces Master Sergeant William "Billy" Lavigne II was assigned to Headquarters and Headquarters Company, U.S. Army Special Operations Command. He had served in the Army for 19 years, and according to his death certificate, his last listed residence was in Hope Mills. Alongside him, Army veteran Timothy Dumas Sr. was also found dead near a Fort Bragg training area in December 2020. Dumas, a Pinehurst resident, had joined the Army in 1996, serving 20 years as a property accounting technician before retiring in March 2016 as a Chief Warrant Officer 3. Yet, despite both men being linked in death, Lavigne's father, Billy Lavigne Sr., told Rolling Stone in April 2021 that he had never heard of Dumas. There was never no mention of this Dumas, he said, despite knowing most of his son's friends and associates. What's even more intriguing is that both Lavigne and Dumas were scheduled to appear in court on unrelated cases in the months following their deaths. Lavigne had a January 15th court date in Cumberland County for a hit-and-run charge from February 2020. Meanwhile, Dumas was set to appear in Forsyth County on December the 17th for breaking and entering, communicating threats, and impersonating a police officer. He had allegedly forced his way into an apartment in Walkertown, shouting, "Police, open the door." Lavigne's legal troubles didn't end there. In 2018, he shot and killed his friend, Army Sergeant First Class Mark Leshikar, at his home after a Disneyland trip. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office ruled it a justifiable homicide. Later that year, he was indicted for harboring an escapee and maintaining a dwelling to manufacture drugs, charges that were ultimately dropped. His father recalled their last conversation on Thanksgiving, just days before Lavigne's death. He was planning on coming home and building a log cabin on our property, he said. It's the last thing we spoke about. Even before his murder, Lavigne had managed to dodge serious consequences for past criminal behavior. After he killed Leshikar in 2018, authorities never even booked him. He was never photographed, never jailed, and according to a county spokesperson, likely never even tested for drugs. And here's the thing. Despite his repeated drug offenses, Lavigne was still trusted with the responsibilities of a Delta Force soldier. The Army CID report even notes that Lavigne was the subject of 2 separate drug-related investigations in Cumberland County, yet he remained in the ranks. Without FOIA requests, we wouldn't know any of this. The Army has done everything in its power to bury these details, but the records they were legally forced to release tell a different story, one of negligence, secrecy, and a complete disregard for accountability. The failure to properly handle Lavigne's drug use and criminal behavior didn't just impact him, it impacted those around him, including Mark Leshikar, whose family is still searching for justice. So, where do we go from here? With Lavigne now dead, the truth may never fully come to light. But one thing is clear, the system that enabled him, the Army's refusal to act, and the unanswered questions surrounding multiple deaths demand further scrutiny. What do you think? Was Lavigne's death connected to the Army's failure to hold him accountable? Could Mark Leshikar's case be reopened in light of these new details? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more deep dives into stories the military doesn't want you to hear, be sure to hit that subscribe button.